Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome back to the show. I have the millionaire mother here, Cait Scudder. Would you like to say hello?
Thank you so much for having me, Lindsay. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so I always, I could read your bio, but I always like to hear from you. How do you describe yourself to the world? Obviously, you're multi-passionate and juggling many things. And yeah, I would love to hear what's most alive for you and who you be in the world.
Well, I am the CEO and founder of the Millionaire Mother, which is a community of ambitious moms who are building businesses at the same time as doing this motherhood journey. And I myself am a mom of three kids under five. So I'm right there in the trenches. This is no like, look at me, I have it all figured out. I am just well and truly wading through the waters of toddler meltdowns and baby blowouts and the whole thing. And it's funny, Lindsay, I was just posting about this just before jumping on and thinking about this so much. This dance of doing both and the guilt that so many moms feel. I started my business back in 2017, and if you have the whole bio, like started my business back then, grew it to, I was living in Bali at the time. I wasn't a mom, grew it to six figures in under a year, multi-six in under 18 months, and it just started really taking off. And I built my company to a lot of success before becoming a mom. And then I got pregnant. It was January of 2020, and I peed on the stick. And my first thought was just like sheer elation. I was so happy. And my next thought was like, oh, fuck. I built the wrong business. I remember like sobbing to my husband and then my business coach and being like, I should have built a drop shipping company. Like, I literally thought I was not going to be able to do both, and that there was no possible way that I would be able to tend my daughter and grow a business. And I look back at that and I'm just like, oh my gosh, definitely newbie mom territory. Because now I'm like three, okay. It's a whole new level. But for me, I didn't really have any models at that stage of women who were juggling both. And I feel like since then the industry has grown up a lot. There's a lot of like mom business coaches now. But the Millionaire Mother was really born out of a need, frankly, to honor and acknowledge that when motherhood hits, and especially for me, like I found out I was pregnant with my son, my second, on my daughter's first birthday. And then I became pregnant with my third when my son was like 11 months. So I've gone bang, 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 back to back. I mean, there's pros and cons, and that's a topic for another day, but I mean, I'm happy to talk about it if you want to. But for me, what this like rapid expansion in my family, rapid expansion in my capacity, motherhood wasn't this like cute little side topic that I could add as an addendum when talking about business growth. It became the centerpiece because in my company, in my style of mentorship, in my framework and way of thinking about the world and business growth, I'm not interested in success if it doesn't feel good. I'm not interested in success if it doesn't allow me to actually enjoy and prioritize and spend time with the relationships that matter most in my life. And so that really required me to do a massive audit and intake on all of the different areas of my life and of my business and make sure that they were really set up for motherhood. And so that's what we do over here in the company. And I just am so proud of the work that we're doing.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad that I found you because I've been a business owner, an entrepreneur for almost 10 years. And I think your youngest is the same age as my first.
Mm.
So almost 17 months old, my son Cove.
I love that. Yeah, I mean,
So
James is, see, I do this all the time. This is what happens when you have three of them. I'm like, Jack,
you're-
James, whatever, one of them, number three. Um, he is 15 months. Yep. Oh, just over
Okay.
15 months. Yep. So similar.
Yeah, and what I love about your messaging, well, first of all, I do believe that there are more entrepreneurs that are also, in this niche of having it all and being a mother, right? It's like whatever we feel that we're desiring to encompass in this lifetime, we get to have it all. But what I feel like what really sets you apart and what I'm very interested in when you first mentioned this is the messy middle, is
Mm.
the not having all of the answers. I love when I see your posts and you're like, I've got an interview and the nanny wasn't able to come. And so I got really creative and all my kids took a shower with me. I had an experience like that this morning where I had to get really creative on my own to take a shower to get ready for my day. And so let's talk about that a little bit. And I want to hear if you feel there's a direct correlation with that level of integrity and authenticity and how that's also helped bring in more financial abundance, more opportunities, more women that are feeling like, okay, if Cait can do this, so can I. I think we're just
Mm.
all so over this, putting people on pedestals and
Oh,
yeah,
it's the worst, honestly, and it hurts everybody
yeah,
because I mean, and I have had that happen, as I'm sure anybody with a platform has. It's like, oh, you're a millionaire and you're a mother. You must have it all figured out, or like you're
and no
married to your
problems.
soulmate of 10 years. Like, oh my gosh, it's like the pedestals serve nobody. So as much as I possibly can, I am always like, when somebody wants to outsource their power to me, I'm just like, here you go, have it right back. I definitely don't have all of the answers. What I do have is 100% integrity and being a devoted student of the work that I teach. Because, and I think that anybody to stand in integrity has to be a student of the work that they teach and they preach. And it's one thing, like yeah, I'm constantly asking myself, and not constantly in a way of like second guessing myself, but constantly asking myself, like, how can did I handle that conversation with my kid in the right way? What is the balance between, setting important boundaries and like nurturing them? And, so it's just, I mean, there are a million examples a day where I am in that inquiry, but I know that as my North Star, it's like everything is connected. And so how am I showing up inside of my business? How am I showing up for my kids? And one thing, I mean, you didn't ask me about this, but one thing that I think is, and it's so helpful to hear for me, like what resonates. Like, I
Yeah,
didn't even remember sharing that bit about the shower, but knowing that that
yeah.
stood out and that you recall that is really helpful feedback for me and interesting for me. And this is one of the things, actually, Lindsay, that I have struggled with the more kids that I have, is actually just getting the time to record shit like that. Because on that particular morning, and if you have no idea what we're talking about, I was on Instagram one day sharing about our nanny coming late. I had an important interview. Toby was out, or I think he had a work meeting, and I had all three kids and I had to prepare for this important interview. So rather than freak out, or rather than, there were any given number of options available to me, I'm like, let's make a game of it. Let's all take a shower together rather than let them absolutely destroy the house while I'm taking a shower and getting ready. We're all going to take a shower and we're going to all pick our favorite animal and whatever. What I do think is interesting, where I do see a direct correlation, and there's a lot of data and research that backs this up, is that innovative, imaginative, intuitive led parenting move that I pulled in that moment, I absolutely correlate that with the way that I think and show up inside of my business. In motherhood, there's all of this like neurochemical transformation that happens. And while gray matter decreases, which is why we can't recall the name for certain objects that we're staring at or touching or holding in our hand, but we have this spidey sense of like our kid about to touch a hot stove or the glass in front of a fireplace or something. That's the same thing as that pivot, quick thinking, intuitive, I know what I need to do in this moment. And that has absolutely been strengthened for me in motherhood. And I absolutely see the payoff in entrepreneurship. But back to your question, I find that, I mean, authenticity, I think now in 2025 more than ever, connection, rawness, realness, not trying to pretend like you have it all figured out. But just transparency is so important. And for me, just in the spirit of vulnerability, I'm like, oh, right, I need to talk to the freaking camera. And I know this and I teach this, but that is my edge at the moment because of having three small humans, including one who is still, bless him, co-sleeping and breastfeeding around the clock. And it's just sometimes not the top thing that I remember to do, even though it's like the most important thing now more than ever inside of the business. So I absolutely see a correlation.
Yeah, and also I'd be curious to know your feedback on this, but there's also, as it relates to motherhood and business, I know for me, when I am intuitive and when I am creative, right, it's like having the structure but being adaptable and resilient within the structure, because 99.9% of the time, my day never goes according to plan. I
Oh
imagine
yeah.
it's very similar for you. And so the amount of energy that I find it takes up when I'm so attached to what my day was going to look like, and how much life force I feel like that exhausts from my being. And that can
Mm,
also be applied to business. So I love your messaging, and I want to dive into that a bit more, because it's like this creative life force, this portal that when we bring life into this world, we can do that anywhere we want. And that's what
mm,
I believe your messaging really is. So anything you want to speak to as it relates to that life force energy, and just how powerful we are as women, and the narrative, like you always say, that really pulls that power from us and allows so many women to believe that their life is over when they become mothers in a lot of aspects.
mm. Yeah, I mean, for me, it might sound cliche. I definitely had a very full, beautiful, robust life before I have had
Yeah.
kids, but really, and this was the genesis actually of the Millionaire Mother, my second birth and going through the birth process. I think that that is such a it's such a threshold for mothers, no matter how we birth or how we bring our children into the world. Um, it is such a threshold process. And for me, I entered into a completely different relationship with my understanding of power through that process. And as an Enneagram 3 and a former athlete, I am like, I set a goal, I can freaking do it. Like, put on the jock jams and let's just go. But that experience, and I've talked about this on my podcast and in other places before, but the TLDR on that birth experience, I had something known as FER, the fetal ejection reflux. So
Mm.
and my son was 11 pounds and I birthed him at home. And let me tell you, to have my body expel without any conscious pushing on my part, an 11, and believe me, there was lots of work in the labor, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of work. But at the end, the thing that actually birthed him into the world was me getting out of the way and
Mm.
me putting down, like, having enough power to surrender to let the thing move through me. I get chills every time I talk
Whew,
about
I
this.
have
And I
chills
just,
too.
and I,
Whew.
that fundamentally changed the way that I thought about business, creation, everything. It's like, what if that forcing wasn't required? And what if if I allowed myself to tap in to this extraordinary power center that was always trying to move and channel life energy through me? And that is how I think about business now. It's how I think about
Yeah.
everything. It's how I think about I have a creation in the world, whether it's a social media post today, whether it's a brand, whether it's a new company, whether it's a life move, like whatever it is. How am I allowing myself to be a conduit, to be a vessel for that transmission, as opposed to like a controller of it?
Yeah. Well, I am also an Enneagram 3, and that's probably why I very much relate. And I think so many of us women, right, like we're modeled. That's how that's what success looks like. I have some notes here where, like, ditching the martyrdom in motherhood, but we're also modeled to either work like maidens or work like men. And so I feel like for me, right, the conditioning of like we're dropped into this masculine centric mold of like, this is how you got to show up in a 24-hour cycle. And right, we're just constantly fed this story of we got to do it all of ourselves. It's all up to us. And we just have to push, 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 push. And so much of what I'm hearing from you, I like to call it divine will, right? It's like, right, it's not to say like, yes, there's hours of preparation and work that's required in labor and with business, but really, what is that energy that's pulling us and propelling us? Which I think segues into my next question, because I see a shamanic drum behind you. It looks like there might be a beautiful altar. where I can see some like little, trinkets and things that are meaningful to you. So, yeah, I'm curious about what spirituality means to you and how you weave that into your life and into your business. And the second part of this question is, I think motherhood for me really helped me have a deeper sense of spirituality and who the divine is for me and what life force is and what that creative expression is, because it's like you get thrown in with the wolves when you have this extremely cathartic portal experience. So those are my two-part questions for you related to like how would you consider yourself in terms of spirituality before, embodied spirituality before motherhood, and after? I think that's really what I'm getting at.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I've always been a deeply spiritual person. I was raised sort of pan-Protestant, Presbyterian, Baptist. And then I went through like a big questioning period, as a lot of people I'm sure did when I was in high school. I started really getting interested in Native American spirituality, Eastern traditions. And then I spent some time in Costa Rica. I was working in a village down there and like came back around to Christianity in this whole different way through the lens of Catholicism and like contemplative Catholic practice, and started reading like Thomas Merton. And anyway, I actually almost became a nun. Funny enough, that's
I
I could
love it.
tell that story if you want. But I truly almost became a nun, and instead decided to go to graduate school, then became a teacher, which then took me to Bali, which is how I met my husband, and
Amazing.
then started my business. So like, that butterfly effect trend. I'm
Yeah.
like, had I not almost become a nun, I probably would not be where I am now. All of that to say, that's my background. And it really feels for me like I don't know that there is a more spiritual experience than giving birth. I haven't experienced one that is more spiritual than giving birth. I have done plant medicine
Yeah.
journeys. I have, felt ayahuasca and mushrooms and whatever, but like the embodied experience of giving birth is a portal unlike anything else. It is the most spiritual and the most human journey that you will ever experience. And for me, the way I relate to spirituality on the other side of it, I mean, I just have that like God is a woman song
Yeah.
in my head. I just I felt connected to every single one of my ancestors and to the billions and billions and billions of women who have given birth
Mm.
before me. And I think that one of the most powerful things about motherhood is that it really does connect us in this like almost invisible web kind of way to the heartbeat of mothers all around the world. And you look around, I remember after giving birth to my first and just like weeping, coming home from the hospital with my dad. I gave birth in the hospital to my first, and being like, why is there not a 24/7 parade for mothers all the time? Every single one of us is here through the portal of a mother. Why aren't we talking about this? Why aren't we talking about it all of the time? And it just changed me. And so for me, spiritual practices, like to be perfectly honest with you, we're still figuring out how we want to raise our kids in terms of religion. I think there's so much beauty in tradition, and there's also a lot of harm that's been perpetuated by organized religion over the year. And so there's like aspects of that that are really deep and resonant for us, and aspects that we're still relating to. But as far as like a day-to-day lived experience of spirituality, connecting with the mystery, connecting with the oneness, connecting with, the sacred connection between human beings and source and spirit, which is evident, the analogy, or the what's the word I'm looking for, like the icon of my mastermind, the Millionaire Mother Experience, is a tree of life. And the symbolism there is that we can only rise to the degree that we are rooted, rise in the external to the degree that we are rooted internally with support, with systems, but a lot of that rooting is also deeply like ontological and spiritual. And so for me, motherhood just accentuated all of that.
Hmm.
More deepening into the mystery, more sensitivity to the ecological web that I'm a part of, more interconnection with the people around me, more connection to my intuition, and and a lot still that I'm is just unknown, and that I'm in the mystery of. So that's my
Thank
answer.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I love how, because my son is 16 months old, and even just in terms of spiritual connection and practice, that's evolving for me literally every moment of every day. And so it is, once we bring these beings into this world, right? We're like the custodian of these young souls, and it's ever evolving and ever changing. So again, I just love your transparency of like, we're still figuring that out. And I think that's so much of what motherhood is. Is there something you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, yesterday or the day before, we were walking, it was Father's Day, and we were walking I was walking with my big kids. I sent my husband early to get a massage, and I was walking with my parents and my kids inside. And Ella looked up at the sky because we just took a massive flight back from Australia, and Toby's family is all over there. She was looking up at the sky and she's like, Mom, is God in Australia and Maine right now? And I was like, yes, babe. And she's like, wow, that's amazing. Like, God
Wow.
must have really long arms. And it was just like, it was just the cutest thing. And so, entering into those conversations, or like we had a family member pass away at the end of last year, and she was saying to me, like, God, is Uncle Brett in heaven now, and like what's he doing, and
Mm.
is he gonna come back as a little boy? Like, I who the hell knows where
Woo!
she got that, but she was
Yeah.
like, and I was like, maybe, I don't
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
so, I just think that there's something also about, as our kids get older and they start asking these questions, like, it feels so honest and vulnerable and true to just be like, really good question, don't know the
Yeah.
answer, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and also again that nuanced dance between these beings are so wise, and there's so much that we
So
get to
wise.
learn as well, and it's not that we are teacher and they are student, it's vice versa. And I love, again, like you said, that spidey intuitive insight of that co-creation of, perhaps as we get curious with our children, that will then showcase how we get to raise them in this world of believing in some sort of higher power. And maybe a lot of that will come from their individuated natures themselves. So thank you again for presencing that.
Yeah.
um there's something when you were talking about the portal of birth and just feeling connected to all of the women who have birthed children and all of the ancestors that came before, and I felt this overwhelming just sense of pride and celebration, like I still have it in me. um this connectedness, and so much of what you speak of is around legacy and how your children have like catapulted you into taking even bigger risks and being even bolder. And so I would love for you to kind of speak into that, like feeling that connection, that power of all of our ancestors, all of the women who have come before, and then also all of the next generation that's that we're birthing and that are coming after us, and how that fuels you in terms of what you're creating in the world. So I guess
Mm.
on a personal level and at a much deeper collective level.
Ah, yeah, gosh, this question is making me emotional just
Yeah.
thinking about, and there's so many, so many stories that I don't even know all of, but my ancestors, I think about my mom's mom, who passed away, I don't know, 15, maybe even 20 years ago. I can't even remember how old I was. I was in my early teens, I think, or maybe 11, something like that. And I don't know, I know about her story, but I know that she didn't go to college. And I know that she worked super freaking hard at Kodak, the old camera
Mm.
company. She built a career for herself from nothing, and like worked to be able to provide And my mom was a first generation student to go to college. And I know that when my mom got pregnant with us, I actually recorded an episode on my podcast back in 2023 with excerpts from my grandmother, my dad's mom, and my
Wow.
mom, and like talking about just having them speak about their lineage and like the opportunities. And it really, really was so different. And I think about the risks that they had to take to, and the sacrifices they had to make to be, and how we truly are with the explosion of iPhones and internet. And I feel like a dinosaur talking about this, but iPhones and internet and AI, like we actually are the first generation that doesn't have to choose. And it doesn't mean there's not trade-offs in any given moment, but we are literally the first generation that is able to stay home with our kids and make millions of dollars if we so choose. Now, I am like the first person to say, you are not more of a mother because you make more money. You are not more of a business owner because you are a mom. There are just people like us that have a devotional, vocational calling to both. And those are my people. And I think about in my lineage, the way that moms had to sacrifice their family to provide financially. And I think about the financial and career and professional creative sacrifice that they made, like my mom did, to raise their family in the early years. And my entire business and body of work is really about reimagining and birthing a sacred third where we have both, where we are able to prioritize and do both. And so I think about that because I know and I've seen and lived firsthand, like mom, she didn't work when we were growing up, and my dad was, did a lot of different things. He was an entrepreneur. He worked for different companies, but he never had just like one thing. And it was really hard for us for a period of time. Like mom, I didn't know this at the time. I was just a child, but like we had government assistance to be able to buy like milk and eggs and bread and stuff like that. And it was once we were in school, like elementary school, kindergarten and beyond, mom took a part-time job, but it was like, it wasn't her soul's passion. It was literally just to make ends meet. And so I'm so forever grateful that she was home during that early window. I think I will, one of my very, very first memories was coming home from school, and she had made like homemade Rice Krispie treats. And it was just like the best moment of my life.
Mm.
But I think about now, like I go down in the middle of the day and like bake muffins with Ella and with Jack, or if he's not sleeping. And it's like, that's just like a random Tuesday. And I don't have to decide, I don't have to choose. And so for me, I think every mother's vocation and responsibility is like examining inside of ourselves. I think this is the gift of this era. Examining inside of ourselves, what do you actually want? If it will fill your soul to be a full-time devoted homemaker and mother, do that, pursue it, choose it, and you are able to. Like, I love that for you so much. If you are like, I have zero desire to have kids, I have so much work I want to do in the world, I want to create and grow these companies and move and shake and be all about it, I'm like, yes, sister, go after it. I love that for you. And if you are somebody who is called to both, but you are questioning, like, how do I make that work? How do I practically make that work? How do I deal with the internal battleground that comes with being a CEO and a founder and a creator and being the, chief boo-boo officer of your home and
Mm.
wanting to be there with your littles? Like that's the conversation. And to me, that is the legacy work.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And what you're presencing too, again, is in this world where we're inundated with so much external and the highlight reels. I think a lot of times, because we're so disconnected as women in so many ways, and just humanity is disconnected, we see, right? It's like you could inspire someone that could absolutely be your ideal mother that is meant to be a part of your community, but also you just being in your authenticity, being in your joy, being on purpose. Like that's the intention. It's not to just follow what everybody else is doing and saying, oh, I want her life. It's like, no, 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 no. We got to really start to anchor in, like you said, that root to rise. If we don't know who we are, if we don't know what we want, then we're just going to keep following what the external world is saying you need. And so, is there anything that you want to speak to there? Because I think it's kind of like connecting this through line around, right? It's like having that devotion within self and really knowing who you are and asking those questions. And I think this might be actually my question because in motherhood, everything for me, everything got stripped away. And I think foundationally, because that old identity, right? There's a part of us that dies. And then there's this new part of us. And then there's like the integration phase of, okay, what am I going to take with me from my previous life before motherhood? And who am I becoming? And it's really disorienting. And
Mm.
so maybe this is my question, right? It's like knowing that divine timing as well. And I believe that the portal of birth and new motherhood is by design meant to strip us away foundationally of everything that no longer is serving and no longer is working so that we're like with fresh eyes asking that question, what do I want? So I would love for you to riff on that for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this is why at the beginning of my mastermind, the very first month of beginning of the journey, we go through a program that I created called Rebirth, and it's all about understanding literally that cycle. It's not just you if you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm dying, or oh my gosh, so many things in my life are crumbling. And we, to your point earlier of the 24-hour like masculine cycle, our society runs on that. And it is not, we don't have rites of passage and seasons and thresholds where we honor the enormous transformation that is stepping into matrescence. And so many of us are like, shit, shit, shit. I got to like just put on some more concealer and pretend like it's all okay. When actually the most honoring, life honoring thing that we could do, not just for our identity, but many times for our business, is to release and shed and let go. It is literally our physiology. It is what we are designed to do. We do that every single month, is like that shedding and releasing. It is a vital sign of health. And yet we are so conditioned to think, oh no, like hide that, go in another tent, go away. If you're in that process, we don't want to hear about it. We just want to see your shiny, happy, go lucky energy. And like, that's the vibe that we want. And I think it's really damaging. And it's one of the reasons, we talk about the archetype. When I think about the maiden, like the maiden archetype is amazing. And there are times when I mourn that part of me, the
Yeah.
one who is just like, if all I had to worry about was like, where am I going to get a smoothie today? And like, how late am I going to stay out? Whatever. It's amazing. But when I think about the maiden energy, in business, it's like the maiden is afraid to go into the death portal. The mother literally dances with death to bring life into the world. Like, I don't know any woman who has given birth that hasn't thought at some point, like, I'm going to die. And it is a death in a way. It's a death to an old identity. It's a fucking consummate surrender to allow that much intensity to move through us. It is a death. And I think that's where the wisdom comes from of that archetype. I like to think about the energy of the sovereign embodied mother as the matriarch. She is embodied, she is sovereign, she is powerful, she is wise, and she is benevolent in the way that she stewards, in the way that she leads. And she is not afraid to acknowledge the death cycle that is inherently part of life as well.
So good. Well, I feel like you're really here as this embodied matriarch and also here to create legacy and to here to create financial resource and to really show women that you can have it all. Maybe not all at the same time, right? It's like giving 100% of yourself when you're with your kiddos and 100% of yourself when you're with your team and 100% of yourself when you're with your clients. So I would love to hear, especially as you're talking about this rebirth, course that's a part of your mastermind, when do you typically notice women stepping in? Is it from all stages of motherhood? Is it immediately after having children? And maybe walk us through um, your, you know, bespoke experience that mothers can really step into. What would it look like for me to really be in my matriarch era, making millions, being present, feeling alive, having this beautiful family unit at the same time?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, so for us, the clients that come into our world are really, I see them at three different stages.
Okay.
One is women who were absolute powerhouses in either a previous business or a previous career. Many women who are like run thriving six figure therapy practices, or um, have corporate careers and are, doing marketing or what, any given number of things. I mean, our clients come from so many different walks, but they are at a particular threshold and season in motherhood. For some, it's new motherhood. For some, their kids are like, okay, they're going to middle school now. I'm in this other threshold and season. Because one thing about motherhood and raising, I mean, you've got a 17-month-old. It's like you get past one stage and you're like, I got it. I know exactly what I'm doing. And then bam, you're in a new stage and
Yeah.
your ass is back at square one, and it's the most humbling thing. So
It's
anyway,
every week.
it's
I'm
every
learning
week.
it's every week.
Yeah, basically. The first 2 or 3 years are just so freaking wild. I literally woke up today and I was like, James's face looks completely different. He
Yeah.
looks completely different. So anyway, at that stage, mothers who are experts at what they do, but they're in a rebirth, a reinvention process, and they really need those foundations. They come into MME, the Millionaire Mother Experience, in our container called the Foundry, which is a cohort. It's a 6-month mastermind for women who are really in that building or that growing stage. So really working towards laying the foundations and the frameworks that are going to set them up for 6 figures as a mom. Then we have the inner circle, which is the year-long track inside of MME for women who are already generating 6 or multi 6 figures and are wanting to scale to 7 as a mom. And that's where we do, the deeper work. I said this in a podcast episode on my show. I think it was last week or the week before at the time of recording this. It's almost like when we're in that foundational space. So for a lot of women who are like transitioning or burning an old practice to the ground and really setting up the nuts and bolts of running an online business today in 2025, because it's not what it was in 2021 or even 2023. Like, what does it look like to do that now? There's a lot of like, and my inner rebel hates saying this, but there's a lot of just like learning the rules. Like, what are the basic tenets and principles of having a signature offer? Basic understanding of marketing. What kind of systems do you need to set up your back end? Like, it's a lot more learning those foundational pieces. Whereas scaling to 7 in the work that I'm doing, both with my private clients and in my inner circle mastermind, it's a lot of breaking the rules. And we do have to go in that sequential order, I
Yeah.
believe, in order to lay a foundation that is solid. Because so much about, I mean, obviously there's still like the basic tenets of business and principles of business when scaling to 7+ figures, but there's a lot of inner identity work and permission rupturing. There's a lot of like visibility stuff, really being willing to use your voice and speak out and build a movement. And a lot of that work is inner, combined with some team and operational pieces. But those are kind of how I see those two different tracks. And so that's my signature offer inside of the Millionaire Mother Experience.
Okay, beautiful. So we'll make sure we'll include all of that in the show notes. And I love that you're speaking to this, right? Because it's like motherhood, right? It's like, it's not that it's a ladder, it's a spiral. Like evolution is a spiral. So I love that you're actually capturing mothers really at all stages of the journey, which is really important. And again,
100%.
as mothers, right? It's not that we just have some of us choose to have one, some of us choose to have more. So again, it's like it's ever evolving as we add more kids to the mixture. I'm intending at some point within the next 3 years to have another child. And I think, one thing that I always resonate with is like the structure, like, right, the foundation and the structure is so important at first because it's new. And then, like you said, there's a point where we break all of the boxes and we transcend the structure because that's the way. That's really, like you said, I think that's that sweet spot. So I'm definitely intrigued. I feel like I know when you and I had connected on Instagram, because of that foundational level, it's like just really taking my time with who am I and how do I want to show up and what is my messaging? Like, what am I even doing here? So really,
Yes. I
finally, yeah, go
I,
ahead.
I, I love that you're in that. And I just want to
Yeah.
share because this is something new that we just added to the Foundry, which
Yeah.
I'm
Tell me.
loving. So I'm building out custom AI tools, like custom GPTs for every single month of that experience.
Mm,
And the first month, the custom GPT that we built, which is trained on the rebirth program, it's trained on all of my IP, it's trained to be this like iterative thought partner. Her name's Anya, and Anya means mirror.
mm,
And she's really designed like one of those foundational pieces because exactly the thing that you're saying for so many moms who are in that rebirth portal, we need an honest reckoning and recalibration for what we're even moving towards. Because a
yeah.
lot of the times we can be building and influenced by external pressure that's not even our own, or we can
Yeah.
be looking at, oh my God, I need to scale to $1 million really quick, or I need
Yeah.
to launch a podcast and a Substack and a this and a that and hit a 6-figure month and blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, honey, 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 what is priority for you right now in this season? And that custom GPT's job is to help you distill
Mm.
and boil down one KPI in business and one KPI in your life. And all of the sudden, it's like, it is so freaking incredible to see these women using this tool because it's like, it's literally like seeing a chiropractic adjustment or like an acupuncture session and watching the entire like muscular skeletal system just exhale
Yeah.
and be like, oh, I don't have to do it all right now. I can really focus on the priority. I can be honest about what my priority is. And now building backwards from that, everything gets easier.
Yeah. I mean, it's brilliant, really, because after talking with you through the podcast, right? It's like, oh, right, because that's where there's this level of when do I want to jump into something because there's a part of me that doesn't want to force and doesn't want to rush. And so what you're speaking to is again, it's like meeting all of us wherever we're at on that continuum of like, for me, it's really about intentionality. Like I want to do it in a way that feels aligned and
Yeah.
that I'm not rushing through life. There's urgency, but that I'm not rushing through
Mm,
life. Like I
yeah.
really want to honor the journey. And I do feel this deep calling inside of me, and you've deeply inspired me. So yeah, I'm excited to talk off the record
Yeah.
around all of your different offerings. And then for those mamas who are listening to this, just allowing Cait to be an expander for you and just feel where you're at on this continuum. And it's obviously working. What you're doing is
Mm,
working. And so what I'm really hearing from you is simplicity as well and community. And I think
yeah.
motherhood nowadays can feel really isolating. And so that's another reason why it feels really important to surround myself with women who do want both. Like I do want that financial resource and making those memories with my family. And
Mhm.
and I know that, you're cultivating this beautiful community of women that are doing that. So thank you.
Thank you so much, love. It's so beautiful to drop in with you. And I'm really grateful for everything you just shared. I think that I so hear and honor that instinct and that part of like it's in my discernment of when, and
Yeah.
I need to like honor this process. And what I have seen with that, and this is what is just so beautiful about uh, again, why I built the Millionaire Mother brand and all of our offerings to honor and to hold and to put motherhood at the center instead of
Yeah.
trying to build a business with it at the margins, is that we have to address, like, I think a lot of moms feel like, okay, I just went through the ringer. I'm coming out of a washing machine. Like everything's everywhere. I don't even know who I am. This is the last time on planet Earth that I need to be in a business container. And it's like we think that we have to figure out who we are in our identity before being able to grow a business. And I would just say to the woman who's listening and thinking about that, it's like, the support that meets you where you're at, that can help you deeply explore that question and then build the right business and pursue the right goals once you are in inquiry with that answer. I'm not going to give you that answer. No
Yeah.
mentor is going to give you that answer. That answer is inside of your body and your soul and your spirit and
Mm.
the cellular transmission that has happened between you and your child or your children, but it's in you, and it's about having the right space to explore that is going to guide and inform what comes next. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share, Lindsay. It's so beautiful to feel you and your essence and all
Mm.
the beautiful work that you're doing here on the podcast. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you for all that you're doing for, I just think about the ripple of what you're creating through the Millionaire Mother Experience and beyond. And so we'll definitely include that in the show notes. I know you like to show up on Instagram as well. Is there any other, anything else you want to share of the ways that people can connect with you? And if any mamas want to send you a DM or an email, like what's the best way if
Oh,
people are like, I'm
absolutely.
ready?
DM me. I mean, I'm always in my DMs. I love a DM.
Yeah.
Message me. It's me over there. So I'm just at the Millionaire Mother. And then definitely subscribe to the podcast, the Millionaire Mother podcast. We release an episode every week, solo episodes, incredible guests, and just juicy conversations. And then if you want to get my weekly-ish newsletter, that's called the Millionaire Mother Diaries. That's where I go a bit deeper, a bit off the cuff, and explore that, just storytelling, writing side, more, day to day, what's going on in my world and the lessons that I'm learning. So you can just DM me the word diaries. But yeah, if you listen to this episode, shoot me a DM, tell me what you loved. I'm happy to connect in any way over there.
I'm going to steal that weekly-ish. So is that like motherhood lingo where I can just put
That's
an ish at the
motherhood
end of anything?
lingo. Oh shit, it's Friday. I didn't do the newsletter this week. Maybe we'll send it Sunday. Maybe we're going to wait till next week.
Yeah, Cait just handing out permission slips over here. So yeah, just if
Girl,
you're
something's
feeling,
got to give. Sometimes something has got to give. And that's one thing for me with my team. I'm really committed to not having, it has to be on
yeah.
Friday, like override, like all of my team are moms. And I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? We are putting our family health and our mental health first, and we're just going to do the best that we can. So you can still run a
Mm,
seven-figure business and be weekly-ish. It's all good.
yeah. Mic drop. That's the mic drop moment right there. Thank you so much, Cait. This was, again, deeply moving and inspiring. I'm sure I'm going to glean more wisdom as I go back and re listen, and I will definitely be in touch because
Thank
I'm
you so
feeling the
much.
call.
Amazing, love. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Much love, everyone.